Now here's an interesting question, which every South African is supposed to answer with pride. What is the vision of this country? Where are we going as a country? If for example, if you ask other people in other countries, they would tell you we want to be the greatest nation in and leading with the following things. What is the vision of this country?
When America created Apple, they were competing with Japan. Who are we competing with, and what are we producing? That's why I say as long as we do not have a national agenda, let me put it this way, as long as our national agenda is set up by a politician who wants to keep their post as long as possible, we are not getting anywhere.
The food that black people consume, including the drinks, have been tampered with, and the state is not doing anything about this. It can't be that people behave the way they are behaving and none of us are detecting this. I speak this because I remember one lady that said that because they are not in these sectors, we make sure that we produce food that will make them sick, but in their sickness they don't die and they come back to become our client in the pharmaceutical, and in the process we control them because of that. You know, you can tell gore ga di consume ke makgowa. Ke tlo etsa the example ke bo Kingsley, bo Go Slow, and etc. Hadiyo ko makgoweng. You understand? And you get to understand that is why it is young. It is because the temperana le runa.
You can never run a big pharmaceutical company unless you get the majority of the country sick.
True.
Otherwise, it will die. It's common economics. For the demand to exist. Let's start first. Is there something called HIV? Or was it man-made? It happens because Wouter Basson has got economy behind him. Right? And Hlophe has got a PhD without economy.
Economy, you would mean he has support of
the big companies because he did what he did in the interest of big companies. Hlophe went to school in the interest of himself and black people. And black people don't own any economy. Police station over, they will create a... so you don't sue them. You don't touch them. Now, this is where we are. Now, economy, the pharmaceuticals, they will never strive when Africa returns to its root. They will die a silent death.
You know... And of course, you're tuning into 102.9. My name is Hlanganane Malungane. And of course, this is Radical Conversation. Ginalinda Deslepe and the crew. Beautiful Sunday morning, Daslem.
Beautiful and cold.
Yes. Yes, and of course, last week we had the views, and thank you to our viewers, thank you to our supporters. We are being listened everywhere in the world.
True.
And this is humbling.
Yes.
This is quite humbling. And we thank you, and we promise that the best of us is yet to come.
Yet to come, yes.
The best of us is yet to come. Last week we were speaking about the role of the state in the economy, and we had asked that we extend this talking about the economics. Here we are finding a state where the so-called private sector is able to manipulate the rand. The rand gets to be manipulated. The state is not doing anything. What does this mean?
Well, it means that the state has lost control. And the big conglomerates and corporates are determining the policy. Well, in throughout the world, they are very effective in controlling the economy. But we need to have governments that resist that, because government is not only representing the big companies. It is representing 100% of poor people, and it is voted in by 100% of poor people. Must I tell you a story?
Sure.
You will not find Bo Rupert go polling station. They don't vote. They are not even registered to vote because their vote is their money. So they don't have to vote. So we need a government that is strong enough to say, while we want the economy to grow, because without the growth of the economy, our people will continue to suffer. Because the growth of the economy grows the tax base of government. But even if the tax base grows, if the state does not know how to intervene in strategic economic sectors, that state is dead. Let me give you an example. The criminals that are in government now want to privatize ESCOM.
Yes.
Yet, electricity is a basic commodity. It's not a commodity that you could live without. Any normal person cannot live without electricity.
Yes.
The fact that people in the farms are still living without electricity is an indictment to our government and how it manages the resources. Transport.
Yes.
Transport.
Yes.
There's too many black people, and I want to be specific. There's too many black people without their own cars that we can try to privatize Transnet. We can't. We can't. We still need the trains. So we can't. So those are things that a government does not leave to be. The safety of our people cannot be privatized. And let me tell you the story. In South Africa, it is privatized.
That is why I said earlier, here is a people, and a people I'm talking about the private sector that is able to manipulate the rand. And in its manipulation, the poor would suffer because interest rates and other rates would be affected. And in the process, the rand is poor, and then governor must be able to do something about this. Secondly, here is a government that private sector does not fear. They manipulate the price we loosely call it price fixing. People choose to price fix bread. People choose to price fix things, and in the process they run away with it. They are charged 10% of their gross profit that they have made. That's not punishment.
And when you charge them 10% of their gross profit, you still give them tax rebate. What are you saying?
True.
You charge them 10 million, they give it to us. You give them 10 billion of tax rebates. What are you saying to us? You're not saying anything. So you have not done anything. So from where I'm sitting, in Hlanganane Malungane, our economy is not only structurally flawed. Even the basic things in that economy have never been fixed by the government, the ruling elite. Let me give you just a simple thing that they didn't fix. How do you plan town planning without taking into account the business sector? Show me where you can erect a business in the township.
Yeah.
Go extension 25, where are you going to erect a business?
True.
A properly functional business, because a person who erects a business can't spend a day. Actually, he can't even erect a business in an unserviced site. He can't. True. Extension 25 solely exists out of unserviced sites for 3 years. So you are saying they don't have to eat for 3 years because your town planning is such that it produces a place where there's no school, there's nothing. So
can I come back there and speak of which there's a viewer who said this guy who's the host is always interfering and are you the one that is interviewed or whatever? But in short, I was like, in a conversation there'll always be interjection. So can I interject?
You can.
That is like our government or officials are also dependent on the skills of white what would we call this, the skilled white these companies, consultants, and these consultants that happens to be town planners are deliberate whilst they make the town plan, it looks like they are given a free will to say, do a town plan. They're not given specifics to be able to say, in your town planning, give more land. In your town planning, make sure that there is business, there is school, and there is recreational facility and churches. So as you balance these things, you get the yards that apartheid was giving are bigger than jarata ko gae le jarata ya ko Jacaranda. But it's our time. We are in charge. What does this say? As if there is no land in this country.
Let's not glorify things that don't exist. Let's not say Jacaranda because we're glorifying something that doesn't. There's a house. There's no yard. Because once you talk about yard, you are saying I can at least extend my structure to something else.
Yes.
Ko Jacaranda Jacaranda. And but mo Jacaranda establish you must know how they have done that to our black people. They must know. They must go rest, but they must know that it is their product. But let's come to town planning.
Yes.
When you plan a town, I hear you are saying consultants. I agree with you. But when we took over government, we realized that the first step that white people are going to do, unless we were completely stupid, the first thing that whites are going to do is withdraw their own skills and privatize their skills so that they are out for hire. But when we came in, we were the guys that were running the education system. Did we know what we want? Because that's what determines. You remember my story about Japan?
Yes.
That when Japan was destroyed by the two bombs, they started to say, okay, now that we are destroyed, where do we want Japan to be in the next 10 years? Right?
Focus.
And then they started to say, if you want to have a lawyer, pay for your child in your own house. Ne? If you want to have a doctor, it's a very good thing. Pay for your child. But we want to be the technological giants. We will take free education and give it to people that are dealing with technology. Today we are sitting with Samsung. Today we are sitting with Lenovo. All of these things are from Japan. And then they said, we want to dominate the transport sector in not in Japan, in every sphere of the world.
Yes.
We are buying Toyota, we are buying Nissan. Because they had a plan. Our plan, and I will repeat it, ANC people will get frustrated with me, they never had a plan to eradicate apartheid. If they had, then they sold out big time. If they had, they sold out big time. Because when you come into power, these are the strategic things we are talking about. You come in, you say, okay, in the next 10 years, I want to empower black people. But from where to where? Black people have got nothing. Where do I start? Let me start with the type of thinking that I want from black people. Then you intervene in education. You don't sponsor a Bantu education and improve it bit by bit. 2 days, 1 day, you improve it. You sit down, you say, let's get into the curriculum. What type of people do you want to produce? And then you produce those people. In line with those that you produce, you say, if you are Mandela, you are Sisulu, you are Mbeki, you are Zuma. You say in the next 10 years, we will be going.
Yes.
What type of leaders do we produce to manage the guys that we are producing to run our country?
Now here's an interesting question, which every South African is supposed to answer with pride. What is the vision of this country? Where are we going as a country? If for example, if you ask other people in other countries, they would tell you we want to be the greatest nation in and leading with the following things. What is the vision of this country?
When America created Apple, they were competing with Japan. Who are we competing with and what are we producing? That determines the agenda. Our country has got no agenda. No agenda.
But what do we need to do?
We unfortunately we have these conversations after elections. We then say we must have a dialogue. Dialogue led by who? People who are bitter, who didn't do well in the election. You think they're gonna run this? They're gonna run the dialogue fairly? They're not. Their job in this dialogue is to return fully to power and continue with what they've been doing. Let us have a dialogue initiated not by government, not by politicians. We have privatized our lives so much that politicians run it in their sleep. We need to take back our lives. Yeah? There are two people that are running our lives in South African society. Is the politicians and the pastors. Those two people, they are running our lives.
Pastor Nongiwo Shaba Hampe.
It's fine. She can do that because I'm also a pastor. I'm talking from experience. We pastors, my colleagues as pastors are running people's life. But are they running these people's life to free them? Because our buzzword from 1994 until now is freedom. We have not attained that. We diverted to democracy, but we were not going there. It was just a nice diversion to keep us calm. But we were not voting. We were not interested only in voting. We wanted the land back. We want the economy back. And we are saying, let's sit down. Let's start from town planning. The next township, forget people who are saying, I want to build a nice city, where? Smart city, where? Next to something. No. They are going to build it next to something because they already resources about Tamakhuako. They are not building it for us. If you want to build a smart city, build it in Hartbeesfontein in Tihan. Then you are transferring the economy from Joburg to Tihan. Build it there.
You know, Ndadeslepe, when you speak like this, people tend to think Dubai is a country.
It's not a country. Dubai is a city.
Yes.
Like Klextor.
It's visionaries that resolved to say, we are here and in the next 50 years, this must be the product, and they worked on it.
That's why I say as long as we do not have a national agenda, let me put it this way, as long as our national agenda is set up by a politician who wants to keep their post as long as possible, we are not getting anywhere.
Okay. Now, as we go, because we will be focusing on other segments, let's talk about food production.
Agriculture.
Can I finish? Let's talk about productions. Actually, maybe start from
food and
pharmaceutical.
Okay.
I want to raise controversy and say the food that black people consume, including the drinks, have been tampered with. And the state is not doing anything about this. It can't be that people behave the way they are behaving and none of us are detecting this. I speak this because I remember one lady that said that because they are not in these sectors, we make sure that we produce food that will make them sick, but in their sickness they don't die and they come back to become our client in the pharmaceutical, and in the process we control them because of that. You know, you can tell the example Bo Kingsley, Bo Go Slow, and etc. Understand? And you get to understand that is why it is young. It is because the temperament.
You can never run a big pharmaceutical company unless you get the majority of the country sick.
True.
Otherwise, it will die. It's common economics. For the demand to exist. Let's start first. Is there something called HIV? Or was it man-made?
Your government did not do anything about voter Basson, who created this thing. And
I wanted
it was
us to go there.
A chemical warfare against the people. Chemical warfare against the people. I want to go further and be able to say and give it back to you, that is today, and these are some of the things that we fear. Contraceptives that are taken, that are sponsored by Bill Gates and Melinda and other US, that are making sure that bomme barona batsala gays and lesbians, they don't know how this is interfering with their hormones. So as the product is about itsalang, ibe bona batuba, we need to go back. Do our scientists check these things properly and approve them, because it comes from America, it is so right. We will come to even vaccination, but respond.
This is deep.
Yeah.
This is deep. And with what I have read in the economic hitman, we are touching the nerve of this institution, and it's gonna react, and we must be ready for the reaction. There's no sickness that comes from food. When God created food, He said it was good. So so for me, there's no sickness. That you are telling me that I shouldn't eat sugar because you have diagnosed me diabetic. You need to tell me what went wrong in my system. My system was not created to be sick. It was not. And we know the sicknesses that existed in the past. Leprosy was a sickness that existed in the past that came as a punishment from God. And then it was a transmittable disease. So we know what happened. But let me not venture a lot on Wouter Basson, because I think Wouter Basson should have gone to prison before Jacob Zuma went to prison, facilitated by Judge Zondo. I think Wouter Basson should have been there. But I realize that Wouter Basson will not go. Because if you take Wouter Basson as a doctor to... And remember, Wouter Basson is still outside. He's still prescribing medicines to... He's even working at the hospital as we speak.
Yes.
A private hospital. That's the arrogance of white supremacy. A man attempts to kill black people. He gets involved in a warfare, and they still give him work to do.
They still give him license.
A license to do. And then to Tina, our government goes and strikes Simelane, advocates Simelane of the role, who was the DG of Department of Justice. That's what we do. Tina, we are clever. Very clever.
Including impeaching Hlophe.
We impeach Hlophe for saying, Sestembele kuni. We impeach Hlophe. And we even, when he goes to parliament, create this doubt about his PhD and whether he's suited to serve in a JSC. But what does that happen? It happens because Wouter Basson has got economy behind him, right? And Hlophe has got a PhD without economy.
Economy, you would mean he has support.
He has support of the big companies because he did what he did in the interest of big companies. Hlophe went to school in the interest of himself and black people. And black people don't own any economy. That's why we had Marikana. You'll never had Marikana when white people jump on a police van. Nobody's going to shoot them. They have an economy. You don't shoot at them. They'll sue the state. They will take the police station over. They will create a... So you don't sue them. You don't touch them. Now, this is where we are. Now, economy, the pharmaceuticals, they will never strive when Africa returns to its root. They will die a silent death.
You know that is, I often wonder myself that the 7 million South Africans that uses antiretrovirals, ne, kore ki budget ya every month. Ki budget ya every month. Ya go sustain a certain pharmaceutical company. Once there is cure, or whilst our country is supposed to be working towards a cure, we are dilly-dallying, we don't get this cure. And this is how big companies have positioned themselves.
Yeah, it's not only that. Medical aid. Private. Young. What injection on the spinal cord? What are they saying? Because spinal cord is genetics. Once you tamper with the spinal cord, we are tampering with genetics. Now, what is contained in that injection? What is the idea physically? Ya hore mosadi ha paper abone ngwana ntate a eme ngwana me abule ngwana ntsiwe. What does it do to the psyche of the man? All afraid. That's why kasetso sa rona banna did not attend habasadi ba paper, so that the psyche must not affect you. Today, if you say Mohonanda this lap, can Maslepe be pregnant? I say with what I saw, no.
It's traumatic.
It's trauma. My wife can't go through that. But that's how economics are designed.
Can I come here and we go into another segment to be able to say the deliberation of the West to reduce our numbers, with all these things that they've done, is it winning?
Blacks are just another type of people. If blacks don't realize that they are godly people, then they will never realize. Let me give you. HIV was designed to minimize birth rate. You get a woman, you might be HIV positive, you might die. It didn't happen. The birth rate increased. And then, but he said the clinic to manage it. We still get families with 10, 15, 8, minimum 4. Baba Shabad injection, it's a cesarean section. Cesarean section, you cannot have more than 3. Leona, we beat them. We don't know how, but we beat them. we don't know how. And then they didn't end up there. Then they brought COVID. And when it exploded, it killed them before it killed us. And then when it exploded in Africa, President 2 million and not even 300,000 died. So something is wrong, Karuna. We are not falling into this trap. When they now the only option left that will shock you is that they must attack us with an army. And that's why America is putting army base in Botswana, army base in... They are planning this thing to say, we can't reduce them. So they will facilitate a civil war.
Let's talk about one of the other things that are feared. I heard you and I fully agree. Deliberate professors who are selective in their views in influencing the people. I would tell you why I'm saying this. I was listening to Professor Habib towards the election, and he was speaking things. Again, media, it's another thing that we have, our people or the state has decided or has resolved not to touch. And media is setting the agenda. And media is the one that is making us to think in a particular way. The media is influenced still by the oppressor. And the agenda is set by the oppressor. I'm very sure that this program, they are looking at it. There are viewers from AWB who are looking at us. I tell you now.
I saw them. There's one guy from AWB.
They will follow us. They will have our addresses. They will.
No, we'll volunteer the addresses.
Yes,
to tell them
they
where
will
we are
do our phones.
Yeah.
But we are not. We tend not, because of lack of a plan. We tend not wanting to influence the nation to go into a particular direction. A simple thing, the media is left there. I also left a point. There's a bank, West Bank, Unwanki Rupert, where interest rates charges 18% to black people and 10% to white people, and it's normal. We must go sleep normal, it's okay.
Even when we have power, we don't know how to use it. Kamu, let's count people who have got Vodacom accounts.
Yo.
What are we doing?
Nothing. Saba.
Yeah, let's cut it and say Vodacom die, because you can't pay one black person. It's our money, you transfer it to Makati. But by now, we should be having people who are surrounding Makati to say, Makati, once you get the money, what is your agenda? Aska 12 billion, abasna agenda le. Abata I blew it. We can't have that. And that's where we must get the next segment of our discussion must focus on that. But South Africa and Africa is such that media throughout the world sets the tone for who must be elected.
Yes.
Do you know the media sets the tone even who must be in charge of our families? You know, God was deliberate to say, men lead your families and women build. He was deliberate in saying that. What is the media saying?
But what I have what I have realized and learned that is is when they come to black women especially those that have learned, they say power unto them. Because you would never find Indian women participate. You would never find white women leading into politics. Only because of Baba create a project. So it says Mohorona, because they know women are not militaristic. Women would never think on how they when bomme ale sharp. Ushaba familia ushaba environment ushab. Woman would not think beyond Hori, but our area is they are not designed to so they are deliberately making sure that our black women, that's why they do not fear them, no matter how educated they would be, PhD, masters and whatever, they know that they chew the line in the boardroom.
They do. And they know that.
And we are not discriminating.
We're not.
Yes.
We are not. We're actually tuning them to start to think in a different pattern, because thinking can be influenced.
Yes.
A character cannot, but thinking can be influenced. So we are influencing their thinking. Now we are saying to them as women, we are in trouble because August is coming. They also become activists only on August, and when August passes, they go back to where they were, and we need to change that too. Yeah, but I'm saying that Malungana, yes, bomme education ya bomme, but if you educate a woman, you feed the nation. It na ke batla go bona ke batla bomme ba re bomme ba gana ona le ngwana ko strateng ba gana go mo accept. How can they feed the nation? We need to be practical and honest about them.
Yes.
Practical and honest about them.
Yes.
So, and I'm not saying they are wrong. I'm simply saying they can't. It is not in their nature. Their nature is segmented by God. God said, build a family. He never said build a nation. He said build a family. So they are instrumental in the family. And if the economics is not right in the family, they will never produce men with right economics.
Yeah.
And that's where the challenge is. So, in the next segment, Haribuaka, the family, we will be talking about what is their role. First of all, for you to produce a thinking husband, you must have the kitchen in charge. Because the production of food is very important to thinking and the psyche of a man.
It's in line.
We will tell you that.
Yes.
So that when you move here, you know the importance. You know the importance of you being in charge of the kitchen, making sure Malungana does not go to spare unless once in 3 months. Not because he's supporting a white company, but because he must eat healthy. And what must he eat healthy? From food lovers, I don't buy this because it doesn't assist my family. We are going to talk about it because food, the thinking patterns, these are economics. Let me put it this way in the Malunga. There's no political ideology. There's economic ideology masquerading as political. Socialism is not a political ideology. It's an economic ideology. Masquerade. You know what they do, Maho? Bare socialism. Bear as a political ideology, while it's an economic one. They want to remove our eyes from the economy. When they say communism is bad, they say it is bad if it is not supported by financing.
Can I ask you this question, Doug? Speaking of financing, what is stopping black people from being organized financially? I'll make an example. How follow the organizations that is on Labor Afri Forum and etc. Ukreya gore maburu are self-funding. Gabatsabi gore ba 1 million ba ntsha 50 rand ke 50 million in a year ke 600 million, they are able to build their university, they are able to do the corporasi and etc. What is making us as a people gore e pallwe ke go etsa dilo tse di tshwanang le tseo?
We can do that. But in order to be successfully doing it, we must remove the pastors from the equation. Because they are the guys that are organizing for their own bellies. The day we remove them from the equation, and I'm not saying churches must not be funded, but let's fund churches that are producing certain types of people.
Yes. That is slapping. I know that 2 weeks from now, we will be talking about about the book of Lynch, how to make Africans Christians. And we will then zoom into the role of a church. We will zoom into a number of things that has made us docile, that has made us meek, that has made us submissive in the name of the church or in the name of Christianity. We will do that. But let's go back and talk about these feminists. Black people can easily organize for Reka Bojwala. Ka di 16th of December, tafuli nentsho. Black people can easily organize go share grocery. The only year ba beya chelete ba share grocery.
That Malungana, it's helpful go beya chelete. But let's move to a different vision.
Yes.
Chelete, if bo me ba beya di 300 rand, be bar di 200 rand. Kids are grocery. 100 rand. And when we are coming to share, are share le motho o sa tleng ka di account tsa nang le tsona a di be mo re di clean a tsamaya sna di account
dikoloto
ya dikoloto a se re fihle go dintlo. We will come to that. Simple accounts, true words. Ha etsa account, you will never see a white man in true words. It's our tobanso.
Will I be right to say in 1992, a meeting in Carlton Center, these white people are thinking, listen, we must make these people to forget who they are and forget their struggle. The first thing that we must do, the moment Akalaya University, Aramofeng account, Nonki Motsapi, you qualify to have account to Yago Edgar's. Nonki kili student, nonki we are go to account to go Edgar's. Nonki Motsapi, there bona o abereka, Hlanganane Malungane, you qualify for a loan of 200,000 to go Kaikaka and the legs. Then boom, how to ha or udikolotong. But udikolotong so as they must remind you, hey, behave. We are a bit of an hour kolota. You can't be fighting for your country whilst you are owing us the white businesses. You are owing white business. Koloye we driving and everything. So behave. So as a result, we are towing a line because they have dealt with us. But quality. We are not taught on how to deal with these things.
There's no economics at university level. There's a copy and paste of something else, but it's not economics. One day, when we have an opportunity, we'll talk about it. Both at the university. They must tell us what is the literature that you find in the library at university. We must be brutally honest when we talk. Some of us did not go to university, but they must tell us. An authority on economics.
You can never submit thesis. The professor will fail you immediately.
No, me, I don't know that because I have not gone to university. But I'm saying they must be honest and come and say, do you find a book? Let's start ka social sciences. We are going to the family. Social sciences. We have Fanon. He's a psychologist. Do social workers read Fanon?
Yeah.
Do they? Amos Wilson is a psychologist. Chris Wilson is a psychologist. Do they read this material?
No.
Now I read it. I read it and I can tell you. I go to get psychologist. In the second session, psychologist that you are not sick.
because
cancel you are not sick. Because now in cancel I start to say, but if I were to go home with this, in the way in which my family is constituted, how do I apply this for the benefit of my children? But I will have to see your children. You see, now we extend our medical aid. You see? We extend our medical aid. So I'm saying, economics in that Malungana starts at the smallest block of economy is a family. I can imagine we had a topic in Alwena country. What is the discussion about Mohammed Vali Musa? Aba kopana.
Bomenti.
Ile Menti, ile Faruku, ile Musa, ile haba dutse mo tafle. We will also talk about intermarriage. Why do Indians not marry in other? We will talk about it. And in a very honest way. We are not being racist. We are saying to Indians, thank you for showing us. And Rona, when we get money, what is the first thing that we do? We want to marry a white girl. Yeah. So and we'll have to talk about it too. When how Nyalama Malungane, you are having a contract, a life contract. Are you aware what is a life contract? And in either court or and if your economics are not right, if you are not having the right economics, you will marry for curves.
True.
And not for brain.
True.
You will marry for curves. And trust me, we did. This is for curves, you know. When you start to engage as a family, to say, I have a vision. In the next 10 years, I must leave employment. And what about the house? And what about you must not take rash decisions. It makes you take rash decisions. You leave the pension, 8 million, 10 million rand your pension. He's not saying they're gonna give that 8 million to you. And because we don't have a company, you're still gonna take it to a white company and depend on a white company called an insurance company to give it back and play it. So you will not invest it in where it changes the lives of black people. Now, the discussions that we should have as a family, let's start there. To alleviate poverty. To alleviate poverty. The problem is they are not talking the right language. But we are hey, har ka share di 5 kg za sepa. Asijiwe sepa. La le ka reka dijo dia bola. Mar haleka la bale chelete eling focused to certain things. I proposed this thing go bontate ba go kirke. I said to them bontate are feditse go patela di grocery and everything re file basadi ba rena tšhelete tsa di spell tsa di makeup and everything. Salang, let's put that together and let's start a program ya go ntshana mo dikoloto. But no na le skoloto. O bua so because na le skoloto. O batla re skoloto. And that's the type of a thinking ya batho ba bantsho. When you how ka to no patela ni dikoloto, but why I propose we imetse ke dikoloto. Why I propose batla intse dikoloto ka rona ho bua batho ba le bona ba na le bothata ba dikoloto. So I'm saying we need to change the agenda of the economics at home. Family must start to discuss economics. And when I do it, my wife says, but when I was close, I said to my son, firstborn, I'm not sponsoring education system that gives you theory
without practical.
That's one. Two, I'm not sponsoring it even worse when you want to be employed by someone. So go to school. I will sponsor it. Go to school. But you tell me the vision that when you come out of the school, you'll own a business. Isn't
it a problem that is like, maybe let's talk about 3 people, a white, Indian, and a black. And in black, I will include coloreds. To say, in the final year at university, the Indian boy or girl is thinking in joining family business, whether as an accountant or is going to join a company as whatever, or is going to start a medical field expansion. And the same as the white boy, because you never find them, they're always head-hunted. But a black one, because of the failure and the system that is created, now as told, ukene skolo uye college nkotsa university upase o lo sebeletsa company e kgolo o nne proud
Gore, how to build a company.
how to sebeletsa company e kgolo wa bona it becomes that and the company e kgolo e ke amang wa bona
We don't question that.
so and maybe the problem the generation ya batswadi ba rona it's the generation that has said that our generation it's a generation that is supposed to be saying go to university come back and assist us with your skills to build family business expand because you can never be CEO of Malungane Inc. Usi Malungane in your blood, no ways. Of Van der Waals, Brett's Brick, whatever. They will never take you. When they will strategically put you today. HR, whatever. You understand? You must deal with your people as they misbehave. And they when on strategic, in positions that you will not be able to do that.
Let's be deliberate and look at family business. We are closing. Why do we have Indian City? Indian Center in town. It is the business in India. Do you realize that we've got that?
Yes.
Then we've got China City.
Yes.
Who owns China City?
Them.
Chinese. All right? Do we have Black City?
We can never. Or Africa City. And we will never have these cities. We'll never have
Africa Mall. Africa Mall. They are not African. They are not African. So we need to start to think like ke batla gore mo go wena motsepe engwe ya dintho tsa ka beng ba re thusitse ka tsone ke go aga di mall ne anke tšhelete ba aga di mall a ba sponsora di shop tsa batho ba ntse tse di tsena mo di mall and create millionaires and walk away. You know, how do you are investing in black people? Bomotsepe, they've been taught very badly. When they invest in us, they give us handouts. We don't need handouts. We need contracts with them to say, familiar batla start a business, but we don't have the cash flow necessary. Abampa cash flow, abampa 5 years, abam mentor as a family. When I move out, abar mo gonna the contract e re dumalanang ka ona ke gore I mentor you to produce another family that is like you. Then have business ya ka I pick up a ausnonki. Haya ausnonki pick up ala telelapa la kwa Malunga. By the time we finish this project and Mutsepe walks away and I walk away, ausnonki walk away, we will have at least out of 10 millionaires 9 successful, 1 failed. But that's the success rate, or at least 7 passed, 3 failed, because business will fail, ideas will fail. But that idea that failed, Rona batho ba bantsho, we must sit down and say, where did it go wrong? Because an idea can be wrong.
That is like I'm in Mahikeng during the week, and I'm told that Dangote owns Sepaku, go Lichtenberg, and I go like Dangote, Nigerian. Wabon. Young woman.
If he owns it,
can I get the young woman? I ask about what Clover said Yatamaya, Behutwa Ing and all that. Now it's bought by some people and all that. Other people that are messing things big time. It's politicians. You spoke of pastors, and I'm saying politicians are messing business ventures that are supposed to be going smooth.
Politicians are clandestine criminals. One day we will have a discussion about them. They're clandestine criminals. You can't be a politician and not be a criminal because you will not sleep well. You will not sleep well. That's why pastors don't produce politicians. We'll talk about that one day. But Dangote, he's here in South Africa. Does he have the intention to pull out? If one day he has it, who does he leave behind? A white guy?
Who shareholders? Yeah. Because most of the
because when he comes, he must say, "I'm here." South Africans come. There's no point. There's nothing wrong in him coming. South Africans come, not as workers, not as managers, as shareholders. Let's deal this thing. And then when he's done, he says, "I'm leaving." But have you planted a similar project in Ikageng? Have you planted a similar project in Tau? If we have done that, then Nadangote, I'm pulling out with my money, and then you guys must sustain. They are not thinking that way. They are not thinking that way.
The issue of business discussion, it looks like it wants to take forever. Can we close it by saying, in our family meetings, whether ka December 16 and wherever, whether libo Motsapi, libo Dire, libo Malungane, libo Nzeke, libo Slepe, let's start thinking, how do we begin to hire our own children and establish dintho tse di tla etsang gore these families di ne sustainable?
We must start first by saying to that guy who created the record of fill up the table, count the empties. That record must not be played any longer.
And also that is maybe also in conclusion ke gore fela before Pastor Piriatla, also ntho engwe ke gore we young people, for as long as their focus, especially these ones that are 16 up to 25 to 30, for as long as their focus is in drinking
and in driving a polo,
and their focus also is in dancing,
yeah,
ba compete ka mejaifo ko di TikTok tsa bona and everything and all these other things they understand. But these are some of the things that we should be able to talk about it.
we should
Talk about it at family level to say unati, you can't be going ujaifa nkati uya somewhere
and come back and become tired on Sunday and sleep the whole Sunday.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, so being smart or dumb, we are born in this.
Are we coming here next week the same time?
This was our last show in this hour on praise and worship. We are moving. We will tell our listeners, but we need to do this on a Sunday afternoon, where our people are relaxed, and it's safe to say that Islam Sunday ka bo 5 ga o ya go Matlosane ko Klerksdorp o fitlhela meeting wa my friend the Somalis and whatever bali 300 ba dutse mole and their elders addressing them. If you can think of batho ba bantsho Sunday ka bo 5 ba kae ba etsa eng, you will then see how messed we are.
Hona le hall mo ke tse ba bitsa Greek hall or ba bitsa eng mo toropong. Go to it in Sunday afternoon 3 o'clock wa kra masadi ba makgwa ba kena ba tshwere di plate ba ya mo le ba ilo discuss and meeting batho ba bantse ba dutse ko tavern ba le busy ka dintho tse di sa ba tlhokeng.
Until then, thank
you.